Welcome to Worthy of Love, the podcast for ambitious, self-aware women who desire to deeply connect to healthy love. Whether you're single or in a relationship already, this show is here to help you slow down, reconnect with your body, and to help you realize that you are capable and worthy of cultivating and maintaining healthy love, even if you have a history of toxic relationships. I am your host, Celia Antonio. I'm a certified relationship coach and a certified female sexuality coach, and I am so grateful that you are here. Now let's get into the show. Hello, it's been a little while since I've released a podcast episode. I wanted to come on here today to give a little bit of some life updates and to also talk about female friendship today. And let's start off with the updates. So I have been gone for a multitude of reasons, experienced a little bit of grief, which I'm just going to choose not to talk about on this podcast. We don't have to share all of our life story on podcasts. But I also started going back to school, and going back to school was inspired by this business. It was inspired by this coaching business because I absolutely adore coaching, and had this idea to go back to school to get a master's in social work so that I can be a licensed therapist. And in that journey, I was looking for a part-time social work job to do or a full-time one to do while I'm still coaching. Didn't really have much luck with that because my undergrad is in nothing to do with social work. And so it was very hard to find something. And then I found a job to work at a assisted living facility, specifically in the memory care unit as a caregiver. And my initial thought was like, okay, that's social work adjacent. I'll go on the interview. I'll see if I like the managers. We'll see. And then I love the managers. And then I'm like, I'll try it out. Maybe I won't like it and I can just quit. And I happen to really fall in love with it. And I love it so much that I've decided that I am not going to become a licensed therapist. I'm still going to do coaching. I still love coaching. I think the coaching I offer is already deep. It's already great. And it doesn't need me getting qualified as a therapist in order to be powerful and in order to serve you in your journey in self-love and relationships. And having a business where I don't have any coworkers and it's just me and my clients has gotten, for me at least in these past 5 years of doing just that, has gotten very lonely. And I've really loved having a job now that I go to for the social aspect of it. I'm still doing the coaching as well. So I have decided to not study social work and to instead go into nursing. And so eventually I will be both a nurse and a coach, and I am very excited about that. I just got a text on my laptop. I hope that sound doesn't come through in the recording, but that's my life update. I am working on becoming a nurse, still doing coaching, I feel like it's also so related to where my heart is at, which is just helping people and supporting humanity in a way where you have to be present and non-judgmental and creative and curious. So that's my little mini life update. And feel free to share if I end up posting this on YouTube, if you are maybe also going back to school in your 30s, if you're maybe exploring a new kind of career, how that's going for you. What are you finding is the best part about it? What are you finding is maybe a struggle about it? Because I could share my journey a little bit more. I just want to make sure that it's something that serves you in your journey, because you clicked on this podcast because you want to have better self-love and better relationships. And I'm just not sure what my educational journey has to do with that. So, yeah, let me know in the comments if that's a journey you might also be on. So today I just wanted to come in here and talk about female friendships and why they are so important. And I'll share first with just kind of saying how, like, from my perspective in growing up, I kind of feel like that group of women that ends up being each other's bridesmaids and does all these group activities together was very romanticized, at least in, the communities I grew up in and the time I grew up in. I'm not sure if that's romanticized now for you. We all are exposed to different things in life. I'm currently taking a sociology class, and have been finding it so interesting to learn about how the life that we all experience, even if we're in the same country, is totally different based on what our environment offers up to us. And so that's why I say, from my perspective, it was romanticized. And for me, growing up, it was something like being in a group was something that was kind of difficult. It was overstimulating at first when I was younger. And then once I got to high school, it brought with it like a lot of drama, or a lot of like kind of not needing to, but from my perspective, I felt like I needed to not be myself and instead act a certain way to get acceptance from the group. And yeah, that was my perspective with it. And then also having the added thing of having a mother wound makes it difficult to have female friendships. And if you have experienced a mother wound in your life, you probably have had the same experience of having difficulty with connecting with other women, because our relationship that we had with our mom or a female caretaker sets the tone for how we relate to all women. It sets this kind of internal belief system of being one-on-one with a woman is going to be like this or like that. It sets the tone for that in the future, because our experience with our female caretaker is the very first experience we have with another woman. And so it's our very first time learning about that. And because our brains are intelligent and made for survival, we take those learnings from that first formative relationship with a woman and assume that that's how it's going to be with all women. And so then when we don't have a completely healthy relationship with our female caretaker while we're growing up, we will bring in beliefs to future relationships with women that aren't going to help us, because they are coming from a place of us protecting ourselves from someone who wasn't able to see us and hear us. And so then you're not sharing your full self because it feels unsafe, because it was unsafe in the past. And so when you don't examine this and don't know about this, you end up growing up and being in surface level friendships. You don't really fully open up in friendships. You end up having friends where they don't really fully know you, or maybe you are always holding space for them and you're not getting vulnerable and opening up because it feels unsafe, and it feels safer to be the one kind of caretaking everyone. So there's that piece. And female friendship is very important because, first of all, we live in a patriarchy where all women are oppressed. All women are not being treated the same way as men, and it's happening in such a systemic, subconscious way because it has been happening for so long that we kind of all keep patriarchy alive without really realizing that's what we're doing. One kind of example of that is, I remember this like riddle where someone was saying about how a doctor gets called in because there is a boy who got into an accident. And I wish I remembered how the riddle goes, but it basically is a riddle about like a doctor operating on their child. And then they talk about how like, but the dad was at work or something like that. Basically, the moral of the riddle is like a lot of people don't get the answer to the riddle. And the answer to the riddle is that the doctor is the patient's mother. And the reason why people don't get the answer to the riddle is because typically when this riddle is shared with people, they are assuming that doctor equals man. And that is just one example of how we as a society subconsciously and unintentionally have kept patriarchy alive and keep acting in certain ways and having certain assumptions and beliefs that are patriarchal just because it's been that way for so long. And because of that, it's so important for women to get together in supportive groups. It's so important for women to get together one-on-one so that we can share our experiences with each other, because the rest of the world doesn't really care about us. And when we get that one-on-one time or that group time with a group of women who are seeing us, who are supporting us, who are hearing us, who are able to open up and be vulnerable with us, and who are also able to accept us as we open up and be vulnerable to them, it helps us exist in a world that is systematically kind of unsafe for women. And I say kind of because I know that we have come a long way as a society. Especially, I am in America, speaking in America, women can vote here, women can have their own bank accounts here. That was not the case like when my grandmother was a child. That is not the case in all countries. And so just overall, like when you are a part of a group that has been oppressed, it is important for you to be able to connect with other people who understand that same oppression. And it is important in general for you to be able to connect with people that will support you because the outside world isn't supporting you. And so the more spaces you can have where you are able to feel seen and held and heard, the more you will be connected with your self-worth, the more you will trust yourself, the more confident you will feel. And that is only going to help you in life. And so I made this post yesterday on Instagram where I talked about a couple of tips on how to make making friends as an adult woman easier. Because I think a belief that a lot of us have is that once you're an adult, making friends is just too hard. And I have come across women in my life who will still be friends with people like they knew from high school, which nothing wrong with that at all. But they are also sharing how like they don't really feel aligned with this person. They don't really feel, inspired. They have different like values and stuff like that, but that they keep this person around because they think it's too hard to make new friends, that they're just like settling for the people they already have around them. And I'm here to tell you it's not as hard as everyone thinks to make friends. I think the reason why we think it's hard to make friends and connect with people is because as a society in general, as a whole, we are all disconnected from ourselves. And the more brave we can be to face our own truth without numbing from it, without shaming ourselves, without running away, without like judging it, without wishing it away, just really facing our truth, I feel like that really helps us connect with ourselves because we are completely accepting that we are a messy human being. We're all messy human beings. And that gives you a sense of realness, of authenticity, of rawness that kind of, what's the word I want to say? It kind of just like magically or like unintentionally attracts people to you in a way where you're not trying as hard, if that makes sense. Like for me, I have found that the more personal work I have done and the more trauma I have processed from my past, it's not as difficult for me to put myself out there in social situations as it has been in the past. And the more you can face your own truth and process your past and face the fears that you have of just being fully self-expressed, being a self-expressed babe, being confident, knowing your value and worth, the less barriers and blockages you have from just being yourself out there in the world. And just being yourself is how we connect with anybody. And the only block I would say that is in all of our way for anyone that has difficulty making friends, that is a block in being yourself. Because if you are going to be your true self, if you have that audacity to be yourself and that bravery to be yourself, it is only going to inspire people who have those same values and those same desires. Just think about, I'm sure you can think of an example where you have seen a woman out in life say something or do something or dress a certain way where you're like, wow, she's awesome. Like, I want to be her friend. She had to have the audacity to be herself to do that. And because she did that, you were drawn to her. And that is what doing personal work is all about. So in this Instagram post I shared yesterday, the first tip I put that will help you with making friends as an adult woman and will help it like be easier. I feel like I'm stumbling with words today, but we're just going to keep going, is to examine your beliefs about friendship. So like I mentioned earlier, our beliefs are kind of set with how women are from our female caretaker, because that is our first experience being in relationship with another woman. You're also going to pick up beliefs from the media, from, your past experiences with friendships. You have a set of beliefs, and what beliefs really are is, I like to explain it as like, in this world, there are multiple things that are all true at the same time. And the beliefs that you have might be true because they have, happened to you in the past, but there are also other things that are true. And the thing with truth and beliefs is that it really is all about which ones you want to focus on, because the beliefs you focus on and really let in as truth and decide these are the ones that are true for me, that is what you are going to keep on creating in your life. And so if you are currently someone who is desiring deeper friendships, but you keep saying things like, oh, it's too hard to make friends as an adult, you are focusing on how hard it is to make friends as an adult, rather than focusing on the many opportunities that there are for making new friends in whatever city you are in. And I'll use my city as an example because I am about to host an in-person Women's Circle series in Cincinnati, Ohio, for women who want to create deeper, more aligned friendships. I'll include the link in the description or caption of this in case you listening might happen to be in Cincinnati, Ohio. But I just moved here from Los Angeles, and some of my initial beliefs were like fear, because, I'm coming from Los Angeles. It's, very Democrat, very progressive, very liberal. And before that, I lived in New York City, also very progressive, very liberal. And moving to the Midwest, my initial thoughts were, fear and just kind of like these stereotypes of what are people going to be like? Are people going to, not like us just because we're coming from California? And instead of focusing on those beliefs, I focused instead on how, yes, those communities can exist, and you can always find your people wherever you're at. There are always subgroups of culture with people who align with what you align with. And so in focusing on that, I joined local Facebook groups before I even moved here. And I made posts in those Facebook groups. I had that audacity and that bravery to make those posts. I signed up for in-person events, and I made friends pretty easily. And it's not just about taking the action of making the post. For me, it's about all of the personal work I've done in the past to feel worthy enough to even make that post and to let those posts take up space in a Facebook group. Because if we are in a space where we feel unworthy of taking up space, we won't even make the post. We'll be like, people will think this is weird. People will like make fun of me, or no one's going to respond, or whatever it is that comes up in your way of putting yourself out there. All that's doing is it's blocking you, but it's also something from your past self that used to keep you safe that isn't working anymore. You need like a software update. If you are wanting to make friends, but it is not working, it's most likely you have these beliefs that need to be updated because those beliefs helped you in the past and they're not helping you right now because you want those friends, but you don't have them. So that's the first one, the beliefs. The second thing that I shared, I'm not sure what order after the first belief because I don't have anything pulled up. I just want to kind of talk organically on this podcast today. Another one I talked about was working on your relationship with the divine feminine. I know I have said in the past that I will make a whole podcast episode about the divine feminine. I will do that in the next episode. I'm committing myself to doing that, but we'll talk a little bit about it here. So your relationship with the divine feminine is about connecting with the parts of your humanity that are feminine. And these parts of your humanity are your emotions, your sensations, your creativity, your sexuality, all of the things that make you a soft, messy, emotional human being. These are also parts of us that we are typically taught to suppress because we live in patriarchy and capitalism, which don't necessarily make space for our messy emotions and instead want to like incentivize us to be more in our masculine traits, which are the traits of productivity, working, and just like pushing through stuff and being fast and quick and producing constantly without any sort of downtick, like making more and more money than we did last year, when really that's not how things work in nature. Things in nature have a season of growth and then a season of decay. And our society is not set up in that way to honor that feminine cycle of nature. And the magical thing that comes when women accept and nurture their relationship with the divine feminine is you love and accept those parts of your humanity that society around you has taught you to shame. And because you love and accept those parts in you, you will then love and accept and honor those in other women. And a really small, mundane example from my own personal journey is when I was younger, I kind of did not have any capacity to celebrate and cheer on like female pop stars or to even like allow myself to like pop music. When I was younger, I was kind of a snob about like the type of music I liked and would kind of like label other genres as like, nah, I don't listen to that. Like, that's dumb. Whereas now I am more open to like, yeah, I'll listen to that song. I don't care what genre it is. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And with that has also come like really being able to celebrate artists that I was like, I don't have any interest in listening to them. Now it's like, okay, let me see what Beyonce's albums sound like. Let me give her a try. Let me see what I can't think of any other artists right now. But it's really opened me up to being able to celebrate other women rather than seeing other women as competition, if that makes any sense. And so it's opened up my like the type of music I've listened to as one example. Another example is like there's someone I follow on social media. I don't know if you've heard of her. Her name is Lauren Roscoe. She shares, I originally followed her because she shares like parody songs where she rewrites songs that millennials grew up with that have like toxic lyrics, and she'll like spin it around to be positive. She doesn't really do that too much anymore because her account has kind of transitioned into talking about her fertility journey, which I still love to watch. But I first started following her maybe like 2 years ago. And recently, she has made it to like having 1 million followers. She just moved into a house, and it's like the first house her and her husband own, and they like built it from scratch, and it is just like immaculate and just like an opulent, beautiful home. And my past self before I worked on my relationship with the divine feminine would have seen that and like thought negative things about her. Whereas now, because I have nurtured my relationship with the divine feminine, I see that and I celebrate the F out of her. I'm like, yes, you go, girl. You deserve it. You've worked so hard. And just like seeing her house, I'm like, wow, what a dream. Like, I would love to live in that. And because I would love to live in that, I am so happy for you that you get to have that experience. That is what comes out of nurturing your relationship with the divine feminine. And I'll talk a little bit more about what the divine feminine is in the next episode. I could also link, I did a podcast episode years ago, back when this show was called Openly Spoken, about what the divine feminine is. And it's probably cringy because it's, old. It's like younger Celia, but it's still on YouTube. So I will include that link in the caption so you can watch that for now. And then I'll make like an updated episode about divine feminine in the next episode. So another tip, I'm just going to give one more tip because I do have to sign off and go to class soon. Another tip is gathering with the same group of women consistently. I've seen a lot of things like as I have been looking for places to make friends, like when I first moved to Cincinnati, I've seen a lot of things where it's like go and have a dinner with like people who are new to the city and like little like happy hour meetups and like just like little one-off events here and there. But I have really found that meeting with the same group more than once is the way to go, because meeting, especially if you are someone who's like with me, I'm a highly sensitive person. I value depth over shallowness, like especially at this time in my life, I'm like in my mid-30s. I want depth in my friendships. I don't want the surface level stuff. I want depth. And I think it's very hard to get to that level of depth that I'm looking for by meeting someone in a really loud restaurant and trying to talk over the music to answer like a prompt question that we are round robining in the table. I have been to a couple of those dinners and I didn't connect with anyone. And the places I've really connected with people have been women's circles, because women's circles have a lot more depth. There's a lot more conversation. There's a lot more support and curiosity and listening. And just going to a one-off women's circle also isn't enough, because you have all that depth and that openness and that vulnerability, and then you never see anyone again. And so because of that, I will share again that I am hosting an in-person women's circle series. It's called Rooted in Radiance. It's happening in person in Cincinnati, Ohio. It starts on March 15th. I'm not sure how many of the listeners here are in Cincinnati, but I will include a link in the caption below in case you're interested, so that you can see more of the details and so you can apply. And yeah, that is all for now. I got to sign off and run off to my sociology class. See you later. Bye.